morning, everyone. Welcome to Crazyhouse Weekly Prize Tournament number 10. We're about 30 seconds away from the start. Having a look at some of the starting lineup, we've got Bonobo 2700, Krosky 2500, Pure Essence 2477, Bahadur Ozen, who's quite a well-known bullet player. Alright, we're about to get going. Looking forward to another good tournament, and good luck to all participants. Okay, I'm going to start by berserking this morning. Upper Weazen's going to follow. Okay, this is interesting. I'm already out of book here, so I think we're both in a bit of an unfamiliar position, which is good to have, nice and early. So yeah, pawn at f6. I mean, really don't want to allow too much too early. I'm going to move this bishop out of the way. I've given up a knight quite early and quite willingly. I'm not sure if that was a good idea, actually. First match, we'll figure ourselves out. Okay, I've given myself some problems here. Nicely played. Yeah, sorry, I didn't really say much during that match. I think I was more surprised than anything else that I missed a few things. I tried to give up a knight early that match to give myself some safety, but then I castled into an attack unknowingly. So here, a temporary pawn sack on e4, but recovering it quite quickly. So here I like White's position. I mean, White's got quite a safe king, and Black's a bit unsafe. Materials balanced. Okay. I'm now going to look to attack here. If Rook g8, there's bishop takes g6, and pawn at h7 to follow. And then you have two pawns on the 7th rank, which is very powerful. Alright, so I'm choosing to make the queen first rather than knight g7, because if knight g7, black can play king f7, then the queen would have defended h8. And this way you get to promote the queen and also continue with the checks. Okay, I'm berserking again. Okay, so we've entered a standard e4, e5 position. So I think both players are solid in this position. It's nothing decisive just yet. So now I'm giving up the queen for 2 pieces. Yeah, honestly not sure if I'm getting adequate compensation for doing that. So bishop at g3 largely to prevent knight at g3, also to attack this pawn, give a bit of defense. And what I'd like to do is knock this knight away, because that's a little bit threatening. And also this bishop is a bit of a thorn as well. So, yeah, so in this position I don't have a direct way in, it's more about keeping the position balanced and trying to find a way in slowly. Now that's a slight inaccuracy, pawn at e6, because this pawn on e5 is very valuable, and I've now got something to play against. So I'm going to look to penetrate f6. And now it's really about the clock that I have to think about. Okay, I'm looking at mate here already. So queen d7 and knight at a6, they're the key moves. Just got to play them in the right order. See, I don't think I played that opening well, but I was fortunate enough to get some playback with a slight inaccuracy of my opponent when they played pawn at e6 and I had bishop takes e5. Alright, so in this case I've elected to just block with f6 to block this off. That's an unusual move. Just because the rook gives a little more defense here. So I like grabbing the pawn here just because pawn at b2 is exposed at the moment. If there's a check coming in, I'm not too concerned. We can always block it with bishop at e6. Yeah, I'm going to use the knight first. So here I have to, if there's a capture, there's things like bishop at g5, there might be some other tricks with bishop at e2, bishop at g4. I like bishop at g5 because it just secures these points a little further. So if he wants to try things with knight at f5, I can just sidestep them. So that's where this bishop's now useful, just running h6. Oh, excuse me. But my opponent's been a little bit too ambitious on the king side, I expect. There's going to be too much material loss on this side. And there'll be a mate. But by that stage, it was already looking like there was a lot of material imbalance. Okay, so we've got Pure Essence, Gog's Warriors, Bonobo have moved to the lead pretty quickly. Early stages. Schroer. Okay. I'm going to play this one a little aggressively. We'll play sack on f7. It's nothing special if black knows how to respond to this, but if not, there's some interesting lines that can occur, and it's not easy for black to play. So knight at g6 was played here to defend the bishop. So we're trying to undermine that defender, and there's a bunch of pins that become available after queen h5. After the pawn takes, there's a discovered attack. So yeah, pawn at d5, I'm considering queen g3. Yeah, shouldn't spend too long here. I'm expecting bishop d6, in which case I can block with f4. And so, yeah, black's actually a piece down at the moment. But, you know, just got to make sure that we limit the activity so that we have the opportunity to use some extra pieces. I'm going to play d3 to consolidate here. And then I'm looking to develop further. So it wouldn't have been good to take with a knight, because he'd go rook takes a4 and play knight at e2. So yeah, not really happy with how I've played this so far. I think I'm giving black a little bit too much to play for by giving him some targets. So I think queen at a7 is accurate here. You should try to pick off this bishop. Yep, that's a good move. And now I'm having some difficulties because I'm not able to keep him under wraps as well as I'd like. And time's coming in as well. So yeah, so not ideal here. How we're playing this. We've really got to move on the clock. Now I'm looking at undermine e6. Alright, now I just got to go. So if he plays queen d5, I'm going to get knight at c7 in. It's going to be dangerous because I'll get the queen with check likely. Yeah, a scrappy game there. I think black allowed me to maneuver a little bit too much with doubling the rooks. But I liked his push with a5, a4. Okay, Bonobo. Yeah, I might not berserk this one. A very strong opponent in Bonobo. So we're heading down an opening path we've headed down a few times already. And he's done quite well from here. Now, I normally take this, and perhaps I shouldn't. I might vary it today. I'll just back the queen off. So I played the queen at d7 to defend f5, so if he plays knight at e7, I'm going to sidestep. And he might still play that and then play something like queen h5. No, he's used a pawn. Excuse me. So he might play knight at f8. So yeah, interesting position here. Probably unfamiliar to both of us. I'm going to capture this. So now we've got a case where, black is up material objectively, but it's all on the side of the board. So it's all about white here being able to try to make use of the fact that I don't have much on the board and keep putting pressure on with pieces before I'm able to use them all. And for black, it's all about trying to consolidate, because if black can get safe here, then black should have a residual advantage for later in the game. So pawn at d6 really just to stop this knight getting active. If rooks come on the back, I'll be able to interpose. Say if rook at h8, there'll be bishop at g8. If the rook comes here, I'll play bishop at e8. Okay, so something's happening on c4. Just going to put a bishop here. Let's see, bishop at g6 covers some potential weaknesses that can occur. Also puts more defense on e8. So at this stage I'm just happy to give my king a bit more safety. Alright, I'm going to take this because I think knight at h3 is a nice way in. Now, is there a mate here? So knight at h4, he can take that. Knight at f2, he can take the knight. I think it's too strong because I'm going to pick off this queen if he captures the knight. Now he can't go back because they're both going to get mated with pawn at g2. So if he runs up, I'm not going to check him. I'm just going to take the queen and leave his king in an unsafe position. Having done a little bit of preparation on the king's side, I think it'll be very difficult for black to penetrate. His only checks are rooks here. So yeah, I don't mind spending a bishop here to keep things secure on the back. I'm going to use the queen at f2 to seal off these two squares to start help building a mating net. So now I'm a pawn short just right now, but we'll put this pawn here. So that's to get pawn at g5 in. Now it's very difficult to defend here. If he tries to move out of the way with the bishop, I'd come back to queen f2 and seal off the square again. So now I just got to see if there's an accurate finish here. I think it's best just to recapture. I'm not going to allow his king to run back. If he takes here, bishop f5 will mate, because the key is just stopping his king going backwards. Alright, I'm running low on the clock again. So yeah, key stop the king getting back, and then knight at h6 is a nice finish there. So yeah, happy with how I played that game. I mean, white went quite early, exchanging off pieces off the board, and then it was about a consolidation of his of the position and preventing momentum. So it's quite a strategic game there, not as tactical. Okay, Juggernaut. Yeah, I'll decide not to berserk this one. I'm going to switch up my opening a bit for the viewers. I'm going to play a Perk King's Indian type setup. I just think I need to make myself a little less predictable in these events. I mean, e4, e5 is becoming quite a well-known line with maybe it's partly the streams, but also there's an opening explorer which is quite nice on the site too. So here I'm in an unfamiliar position. I expect it might be unfamiliar for my opponent as well. I'm going to play knight c6 first, then put a bit of pressure on d4. It's not bad to take here also. You could play bishop at h6. But already, I love this game. It's like move 7 and both players are out of book. Not really in familiar territory. So it's all to play for here. So I'm going to get e5 in. And in these sorts of positions, it's not bad to get rid of that bishop because you get rid of this common issue on h6. My opponent right now has something on f6, but there's no pawn coming in here. He doesn't have a pawn just yet. So I like bishop at g5 here. I'm potentially going to play bishop h6 and create some pressure on this e3 square. The thing is, he plays knight g3. It's not too much just yet. Instead, I might back out of this diagonal. He can potentially play knight at e6, and it just prevents that from becoming too much more. Okay. So with not many trades on the board, sometimes you can consider a kingside push like this. And you just got to make sure you're well covered enough near home so you can take a pawn that moves. So I had a comment from Toss. He said, no, king takes h4, pawn at g5 check, king g3 and bishop at h4 mate. I think that was a previous game. It's not actually mate because white could play king g2 in that situation. There might have been a knight on h4 which makes that sequence look like mate, but it's not actually mate. Now I've got a comment from Johannes Nathaniel. I don't think you should berserk. Looks like you have terrible lag. Sometimes I do have terrible lag. But yeah, I'm berserking occasionally just just for that extra point. But aside from the points, it actually helps me to remain quite active and think about playing fast, because you do need to keep playing fast in this event. It's not just about winning the matches. It's about winning them quickly and playing more matches. Okay, so my opponent's played knight at f3, and I expect he might be, if I back off the bishop, he might sacrifice here and play pawn at g5. Excuse me. So I'm going to defend that bishop with the queen. And the knight g8 move also gives more security here, so since he hasn't taken it, I'll back it off to a defensive square. I'm going to kick this knight back, develop the bishop, develop the knight. Got a bit of a strategic game going here again. And I'm wary of the clock now, so my opponent has 30 seconds, I have 40. Okay, that's interesting. So I don't mind grabbing this f5 pawn, but I want to remove the knight on g3 first. And from here, we just got to go, go, go. Alright, that's mate now. So yeah, a few strategic games here where it's not a clear position. Okay, we've got a new player ready to lose my feet that's risen to the top. Hasn't lost a match yet. Okay, I'll make a berserk again here. Got a double berserk. Early h6. I've elected just to play pawn at f5 here. It's really to stop anything happening too quickly on this diagonal. I will trade queens now. Oh, it's probably, my opponent's probably made a pre-move there. It's been quite unfortunate because I've picked up the queen. Yeah, so this should be over soon. I mean, too hard to defend this. If you play bishop at h8 and pawn at f7 mates. So that's why you shouldn't pre-move sometimes. I mean, it's a bit unfortunate. I was looking forward to an interesting opening position there. So some cheeky comments. Nick's the name says, that's Australian internet. Vincent Lejeune says, there's computers in Australia. That's nice. We're that far behind the rest of the world, aren't we? I think it's fair to say we're a long way from the rest of the world. But internet's not great. We do have computers. Okay. So got to be careful here. If you open this up and if white doesn't get in first, it's not good. Yeah, I'm gonna play knight at g5. It's ready to give a little bit more coverage on h3, potentially have some pawn at e6 ideas. So bishop c5 is a possibility. I'll just back the king off. You could play knight at f2 if he wants. In that case, I might play knight at h3 just to support the back. Okay. So let's get a little aggressive here. This is rather, excuse me, a bit of an optimistic look on bishop h6, making some weaknesses here without anything direct. So my opponent's coming in. Now, this would be mating if he had one more pawn, which I think is what he's trying to get at the moment. I like how he's played knight e4 first. That's a very accurate move. I'm forced to play rook at g2 to put something on g2. Black is definitely better in this position. So I've got this move that black needs to be careful of now. We'll see if it's decisive. That queen's going to be really dangerous. Oh, but he's going to be mated here, if not at g8. So, yeah, I'm not sure if knight at f2 was the right way to proceed. Maybe he should have backed the knight off because that knight became quite critical. And if he backed the knight off, he just had a material advantage, and then he'd have to play it slower and more strategic. I think he might have just missed that knight e8 was dangerous. But objectively, black was better there. Okay, bonobo again. I'm going to choose not to berserk. I'm heading down the same line. We'll see if we get this slow strategic game going again. Apologies, I keep coughing. I've been trying to shake off a little bit of illness from the prior week. I've still got the last of a tickle in the throat. Okay, so we've got a bit of deviation. He's coming with knight at f4 instead. I need to defend this because of the threat of bishop takes f5. So that's removing my defender here. That helps keep me solid. And yeah, just again piling on some defense on a light squeeze. So yeah, nothing special for either side at this point. I mean, black's got a really nice big center here. I'm just going to consolidate again. Let's play rook b8. Alrighty, now I'm going to play queen d7. I'm just going to keep piling things on, and that's so I can actually play e5. So before allowing this pawn to depart, I want to make sure I'm adequately covered on light squares. And then the plan is at some stage to get something on here. Just move this mass of pieces slowly up the board. So in these sorts of situations, there's no way you can just run in and blow up the king. It's about coming up with strategy. So if I take here, he's going to play knight at c5. I'm going to allow it because I'm going to pick up this knight and also this knight here. I'm expecting him to recapture, and then I play knight at d4 to just cover e6. So if you've seen my stream before, you'll see it's quite common that I'll give up a queen for 2 pieces. That's sometimes the 2 pieces are actually stronger than the queen in Crazyhouse, because the fact that you can interpose pieces means that, you know, a knight just goes straight to d4. You don't have to develop it. You know, the queen is, it's more about the direct properties that a piece holds and what it attacks or defends. So I'm expecting to maybe even try queen e7, but I've got knight at f5. So he's going to try to make something on these squares as quick as he can. He knows that if he allows me to consolidate, it's not going to be easy. And this is already an outpost to start attacking with. So my plan is simple. It's hack the light squares on white's position. Knight at e2 is already a mate threat here. King h1, bishop takes g2, king takes g2, bishop at f3, king h3, pawn at g4. That's mating. Whereas it's not as easy for him to get in here. And he's just resigned there. So you can see that, yeah, the value of pieces here are a little bit different. Interesting here that I've had an extra point on the scoreboard, but wasn't yet coming at the top. Still thinks I'm number 2. Okay, so entering a similar but not the same position as before. Similar kind of setup. So again, I just need to consolidate. So I need to be wary of things on d5, because this pawn is too far stretched. That's why bishop at f7 was played. Oh, nice. So let's be careful here. I'm going to play queen e8, and that's again to just patch up here. But I don't mind white's position. I actually need to watch my clock, because I'm spending a little bit too much time in the opening. Yeah, rather than e7, put the knight here so that I'm still defending this. And he's doing a good job of keeping the pressure on. Yeah, I like this. He's pushing me backwards. So okay, you got h5 in. and I've got to start moving. I'm going to try to get this knight here, move this bishop. Oh, nice. He's got bishop h7. I'm going to allow it and then block it, because he can't really discover to anything dangerous. Now I'm really running low on clock. He's forcing me to defend very accurately here. Yeah. This is really good accurate play from white. Just strategically pounding. I think I'm going to lose this match. Oops. Yeah, too low on clock. That was nice play. That was a really good example of strategic play from white. Just he kept hammering those light squares, and I got to hand it to white. That was a really nicely played match. Okay, I've lost my multiplier again, so I need to try to get that back quickly. So yeah, previous game, hard to say where I went wrong in that. There's probably some subtle moves positionally, or maybe I could have played differently. But I didn't give much away, I felt, and white really forced it from my hands. Okay, so black's given up an early queen. This is a line where black often will try to create some pressure on this diagonal. But it's one piece for the queen, not two in this case. A good way to respond is often, if you can get the queen here, there's some, getting rid of the pressure here, but there's also some tricks with knight at f6 and knight at h6. The only thing is, you got to be wary of your queen getting stranded on g5, because sometimes if it comes here and it doesn't actually do anything, then you're just going to get hit. So in this situation, I'm willing to put the queen out. Okay. Here, I'm just going to be satisfied with taking that. Play the aggressive move. But already here, I'm quite happy, because if I play rook takes d1, I'm actually a piece up. Because he'd only have 3 minor pieces and I'd have 5. This is just a slightly more active move. If he plays queen at g6, there's knight at e7. So he might have to defend here, but then, I can play bishop e6 as well, and there could be some pretty quick attacks. At worst, I'll always just be able to capture here. So yeah, at this point, yeah, I'll go in with knight at e7. It can't take it because of queen g7. And now I'll take the bishop. And so, yeah, I'm basically just saying here, white's king safer than black's king, and I've still got an extra pawn. So I expect this should be advantageous to white. So key here is the dark squares, right? So to attack, let's attack the defender. So we can use a pawn, we can use a bishop. I'm going to use a pawn. If he backs off to h8, knight h6, king g7, bishop at f6 is made, which is what I predicted. Okay, we've got Murray Orton joining the pack. Okay, we've got about an hour and 10 left. FM the magnet. Yeah, I might not berserk against. Oh well, if he's berserking, maybe I'm too late. Never mind. FM the magnet plays very quickly, so I'm not keen on berserking this opponent actually. Okay. Well, I think he's expected me to play queen d8, not queen g7. So this is now very dangerous. Mate in 1 is a threat. Queen takes h1 is a threat. Normally white can play knight at g3 or knight at h4, or castles even, to prevent g2 being captured. Okay. So you don't want to play bishop at h5 here because of knight at f6. So it's a matter of how we proceed accurately. Yeah, I'm just going to keep it simple and develop actually. I'm not seeing anything direct. I'm happy to get the bishop out to h3 if he allows it. Yeah, I'm probably spending a bit too much time on this. You can play knight c7. Ooh. Yeah, I don't mind taking this one. So the issue here is f3 is no longer guarded. So if he takes twice, there's a knight at f3 tactic at the end of it. He might try to come in with a pawn or something. So he's put the pawn here to defend f3 to make queen takes d4 viable. The knight covers c2, so there's no check there. So I'm going to get rid of that liability on d4 while I can. Just pick off another pawn. Although bishop at g3 traps my queen, which is an idea. Didn't see that. So okay, I'll probably give up that queen, but it's the best fashion to do it in. We'll go pawn at c2, because this knight's defending g2. If he took with the queen, I'd play knight at a3. So I'm going to try to get my queen out of dodge. So he's looking for things on f6. Might come queen g4. No, he's going this way. Oh, he's found a way in. Yeah, I have to cover g7. I'm going to block off this potential diagonal, block off this file. Just looking to consolidate here. I should just no, I'm going to take this way. Yeah, he's moving very quick here. So I've got to be careful. Knight at c2 is going to get me mated. I got myself into trouble all of a sudden. This isn't good at all. I'm thankful I got a bit of time up my sleeve because I'm certainly needing it right now. Alright, here he comes. Yeah, I didn't really play that game very well once I got the upper hand. I should have done a lot better after queen takes g2, but fortunately I didn't berserk that and the time was useful for me. Got quite a silent channel this morning. I only have a bit of banter, a few questions. Yeah, Schroer gave me some difficulties before. I might not berserk. Sometimes you don't know the strength of a player while they're still provisionally rated. In fact, Schroer nearly sounds like a familiar name from way back. Okay, I got the same opening line as just before, but I'm not expecting that my opponent will allow queen g2 just the same way. Yeah, so I'm happy to get into this quite early. Yeah, now I could take c2. I think I'm just going to take this to alleviate any weakness because this is opened up. Yeah, I don't need to play the bishop just yet. More about developing this so I'm not behind. So black's just the pawn up here. It's not much more than that, and you still need to be careful on allowing white to open up the position. So pawn at g5 here actually is you can have knight g5 takes knight at f6. There's some things that can arise out of that. And even here, there's things like knight takes e7 and pawn at f6. There's ways that white can make black uncomfortable here. I've actually adopted quite a passive position. So here I need to give this knight a bit of a kick. Pardon me again. Can't shake this cough. We'll develop this bishop. And this is always good. I mean, connecting this rook is actually quite useful when you suddenly get attacked. And can I say I'm happy with the opening play? Probably not. I mean, I was a pawn up, looking pretty decent. Maybe I played too passively and pushed my pieces into uncomfortable positions. And my opponent's just saying, well, I'm going to sit on you then, if you're not going to do anything. So, okay, I'm going to semi-develop this bishop. At some stage, I'll probably take here, play knight at f4, and then sack this knight. But I just wanted to get better coverage on these squares first. So pawn at h3 is where I'm looking to hit next. Try to get activity. And I think, yeah, I'd rather preserve this bishop. So Samuel Beasley has made a comment. Schroer was the name of the account with the second highest bughouse rating on the ICC. That's probably where I've seen the name before. Strategically, I like how this opponent plays. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to sit on an opponent. Okay, so I need to remove this knight, so I'm undermining its defender first. And I don't mind if he takes the bishop, because I'll just recapture, and then I've got enough coverage on these squares to prevent black from coming in. But I'm now threatening things like knight at h3, bishop f3. So I've got some things to play for here. It's about converting accurately. So I'm going to take with the bishop first. Rook at g1 is on. And queen at e1 is going to be dangerous after rook f3, knight at g2. If he plays king f1, I'm going to play queen at g1, king e2, queen e1. Maybe bishop at c4 first is more accurate. Just covers off this d3 square, forces him to play there. And then queen e1 mates whether or not he... Oh, he slipped out of my net for a moment. Yeah, we'll have mate here. So happy with how I played that game in the end. I mean, I got myself into a passive position and then slowly untied myself. Key bit was not being too concerned to sacrifice a knight on c6 to get some activity on the king side. But yeah, that's a play to look out for, Stroller. Okay, looking at the leaderboard, Murray Orton 51, ready to lose my feet 49, JannLee 47. So I've got my multiplier back, keen to keep it, keen to keep some momentum going. Okay, we've got a Sicilian. For against a Sicilian, I try to play very actively against a c7 weakness as early as I can. It's not that the Sicilian can't be played, it's just that black has to be quite mindful of what can occur on this square. So already I've got knight at c7 as an option. I'm going to take it. You can't play king d7 because a pawn at e6 takes mate. So he has to sacrifice the queen, and then already that's a large edge for white. So like I said, it's not unplayable, but black does need to be careful. Things can go south quite quickly in the Sicilian. Alright, 55 minutes to go, and I've got a decent position this week. Hopefully I can remain competitive. Ready to lose my feet, looks like he went off the boil a little bit. Okay, Murray Orton, a quick player, I'm not going to berserk against him. Okay, so this is not the regular e4 e5 setup. Black has set up with an early c6. Might just be annoying. Kick that bishop back. c4. Yeah, we'll go c4. Yeah, so again, we're going to have one of these strategic type games, I expect. I'm playing knight at h5 here. Queen g6, knight h4. It's going to force into either e6 or h7. So key piece, bishop on e2, defending there. And now knight f5. Oh, I can't allow bishop at g5 or else I'm going to lose a piece cold. Now that is sacrificing a pawn here, but that's in return for some initiative, I would expect. So ready here. Let's get ambitious. And I'm threatening knight f6 to recapture queen. There's knight attacking here, and the queen in hand is not dangerous enough for me because he doesn't have enough supporting pieces to launch an attack on the king. So I am sacrificing a queen for a bishop and a pawn, but they're both on the king's side, weakening black's dark squares considerably. So he's got to be careful here. I'm going to try to come in. Now, if the king takes, there's a number of options. You can play queen at h8 to block off the king from going backwards. You can play queen at h5. And things like bishop at h6. Now, sorry, it looked like the screen just blacked out there for a moment. So he's decided to avoid it altogether. So I'm gonna. How best to proceed? I think it's bishop, queen at f6, king d7. Get this bishop back, dude. And now queen f7 is possible. Yeah, queen f7. Yeah. That's a matter of finishing. So this bishop takes e6, knight e6, knight at f6. Now I've got to make sure he doesn't get too much in hand that he can make me on the back either. In fact, I prefer this. If he takes with the rook, I'm just going to take the bishop here. Having his bishop here is not a bad piece to just keep things safe at home. Yeah, this feels very dangerous for black. Pawn at f7 or just simply captures here. So yeah, can't take here because e6 will fall. Knight at c5 is a mate threat. So that was a bit of a sharp transition with that queen takes g5 sack. Alright, I've hit the lead. Woohoo! Happy about that. Okay, we're up against Stormy. So again, if I see this c7 weakness, I try to have a go at it. Now bishop d6, I can play pawn at e5. It's probably not that great because he can back off. And then my bishop would be pinned, so I can't take the knight. So I'm going to take this way first. And I'm happy to pick off this knight on f6. Before doing that, we'll defend here while attacking. So this is also useful in preventing the king from coming back. Now this is just to pick off a pawn. I mean, if the king comes here, he's discovered, but otherwise we get to pick off this one. Yeah, I think bishop g4 is accurate. So I don't see anything direct here. I think I just got to keep moving and keep an eye on the clock. So this king on here ties up black's development a little. So I don't need to try to disrupt that king with any checks. I can leave it where it is. And my opponent's basically repeated by putting a bishop there, so it's not really progressing black's position. I want a castle to get out of the way of this pin. I think that knight's going to be useful in a little while. Same movements here. I'm happy to take the tempo. So yeah, now I'll take this. I'll have a fork here to grab the rook. And that'll be mate. Alright, gotta try to lead from the front. I got a question from M. Michael. When was the last time you won this tournament? I don't think I've ever won the Crazyhouse Weekly Tournament. I might have won a Madness Tournament, which is a 30-second event. Ready to lose my feet. Okay, I don't know this opponent. I'm going to go with something off beat. So yeah, already I'm in unfamiliar territory. Looks like I could be up against a chess player, potentially, the way he's played the opening. He's played them very quickly, and it looks like chess moves. Alright, let's go for it. I'm going to make a grab here. Because the knight's attacking the queen and I've got this discovery, at least I'm going to pick up a pawn from this exchange. Yeah, if he chooses to take the queen on d8, I think his king's going to be left a little less safer than black's. So maybe knight e4 is appropriate, but then yeah, I still have enough coverage on f6. So as long as nothing direct happens on the king, I should pick up a pawn. So I don't know who this player might be, but it doesn't look like a standard Crazyhouse player to me. So Timu Ruipo said, so that was the Go South variation of the Sicilian, the one against Bodia 17. Oh, it's just one of. There's a few ways that things can go south. Okay, I'm gonna stay aggressive here, and if I can remove this knight, it's handy for my position. Yeah. I just need to make sure white doesn't get some momentum on f6. If I can avoid that, my king will be in better standing than white's. Now, queen e2 would be mated from knight at c3. So yeah, happy with how I've played that one. I think knight takes e4 was a good sharp pickup, which gave black an advantage. Okay, we're berserking here. Back to standard e4, e5. I want to play the bishop e7. I normally play up to c5, but bishop e7 is also playable. And that's because white's often coming in here and it's preventing the pin. Yeah, take this one. There's a common idea, just get c6 in, so that stops progress of knight d5. picking up a bishop. Okay. So I'm just going to defend this pawn while he's allowed it. And then we'll consolidate around the king. So let's just watch that clock. So undermining e4 so that f5 is no longer defended. Also opens up this line to h4. Yeah, I'm going to make the sack. Now you don't want to take with the f pawn because then queen at g8 and knight at f7 will mate. Very critical to take this way in this position. Okay. My opponent's trying to attack here. I'm going to do a defensive check first and capture this queen. That way I'll leave white with nothing to play for on my king's side, but now queen at g2, knight at g4, they're all. In fact, I think knight at g4 and pawn at h2 was mating just before, so this is a little inaccurate, but nevertheless still winning. Okay, so yeah, with regards to the question, when was the last time you won this tournament? Yeah, I haven't had. I can't remember winning this tournament. It's been a bit elusive for me. I've placed second, maybe a number of times. I tend to get quite a good performance rating, but often there's a player that's been playing more games, had more wins. So yeah, this is a new territory for me. So it's nice to be on top a little bit. Okay. Now, the benefit of this f3 setup against the bishops don't move like that, against this diagonal, is that you can still use this pawn, and black still isn't gaining much because you've got the rook and the queen firing here. Yeah, I'll be good and defend this. I was thinking if knight g7 could be a crazy way to get in fast, but we'll cover this bishop first. So I'm looking at bishop at e5 if queen takes, to pick up the queen. So yeah, the knight's giving a bit more attack here. I'm going to take with the knight first. It'll just be useful if he takes with a pawn to be able to recapture with a bishop at check. And if he doesn't, then it's likely he'll be mated. The king h6, queen at g5, if the king goes back, queen at g7. So you don't always have to take a pinned queen. You don't always have to take a queen straight away. You can sometimes build up a bit of pressure and get a decisive result quicker. Alright, I'll keep up with the berserking. I'm going to mix up my opening again with this perk setup. I'll tell you, I haven't really played this opening much, if not at all, in probably the last 15 years of playing this. I just find yeah, some of the e4, e5 lines are getting well known and predictable, and it's good to mix it up a little bit. And so, yeah, even with this, I think if you're a new player, it is something you need to be careful of as black because of this pawn at h6 type activity. Because things can also head things can head south quite quickly as well if you're allowing too much activity for white on h6 and g7. So I'll let you know what I'm thinking here. Now, having given up some activity here, white doesn't have a whole heap of pieces straight away. So I'm trying to keep things on the king side here. I mean, you see white doesn't have a pawn at the moment, and then try to limit the trades a little bit, and very slowly try to prove that white's overextended a little bit by having that pawn here. So, you know, a move like knight at f5 is good, it covers these sorts of squares. And next I'm thinking something like pawn at f4, and I'll just try to capture the pawn on h6. He can play knight at g4, he's played this way, so he can capture some pawns potentially. I'm going to take it. I'm going to replace my defense here. Now he might sack on f7, but I've kept pieces on this side to try to parry that off. So right now I'm probably more concerned about the clock. I don't mind taking this. So that'll get another bishop defended. The queen's covered on the back by the rook. If he wants to take this, he can do that as well. But yeah, f7 is by no means a threat. So it looks clumsy, it looks passive, it looks a bit convoluted. But if black can consolidate, I mean here I'll already be up, you know, a pawn. So I'm looking at kicking this knight. So when you're looking at how to consolidate, I mean, you just look for the pieces that are in your half and that are thorns in your side. And if you target them first, you'll find you're able to unravel your own pieces easier. So let's play pawn at d6. I'm going to bring the bishop to f6 just to give my king space to move as well in future if required. He's picked off that pawn. So even here, I'm just going to allow pawn at f7. I'd prefer to capture with the rook if he does take. And I'll take with the rook so that my knight still covers h6. So I'm wary of the clock here. We've got rook c2. I'm just keeping f7 adequately covered. So yeah, taking with the rook would be dangerous there because of rook at f8 tricks. So I'm actually going to bring some resource back with me. Yeah, this is good from white. I have to be careful here. Alright, that's good. So that's to defend. I think the clock's going to end up running down. Alright, so developing a significant lead here. Chicken Crossroads joined the race as well. Chicken Crossroads has been playing really well. He actually hasn't played too much Crazyhouse in prior years. I've always thought he'd be a strong player, and he's certainly picked up the game now, so I'm happy to see that. You might see him later. I have a feeling the 30-second event is his pet event. He does very well in that. Oh, got a quick opponent here. He's bashing out a few moves. He's playing a line that I often play myself. See, I've definitely noticed a difference in the opening play and how quickly that goes these days. And it's obvious to tell when someone's got out a book because the train just halts. I'm gonna pick off this guy. So, yeah, eye on the clock already. I've got a nice position here. I'm looking at bishop takes e7, queen takes e7, knight at f5, and potentially making a grab. Expect queen d7. Well, if he's gone that way, I'm going to fork him. Now you got threats like knight h6. Coming this way. So giving up this rook now allows white access to some light square weaknesses here. So really switching gears. Look at g8's coming in. So question from Sketchy Quark: are there any good Crazyhouse puzzle or tactics trainer resources? I think there's Frosky has put up a post somewhere on Lee Chess, possibly also on the Reddit website. There's some material, and that talks through like a basic guide. Also check out, there's another YouTuber out there, Atrophy. His channel is Crazy Space H on YouTube. He's also got a lot of videos on introduction to Crazyhouse, and yeah, perhaps he's probably a bit better catered for a novice player. I've probably spent more time doing live streams than pure content. No, there's a dedicated. The question was r/chess, or is there a Crazyhouse dedicated subreddit? No, it's Crazyhouse dedicated, so it's r/Crazyhouse. Okay, there's a fairly standard line now. I've backed off the queen here because it's appropriate to defend c7 here. The other thing is you can't play queen g6 because of knight at e7. So critical part is because the pawn's been moved up, it blocks this bishop. So I'm basically now playing the black side of what I just played with the white side. No, I think it's just a balanced, even position, and both players can make ground from here. So I like recapturing with the rook just because this piece normally isn't in the game at all, and just to give it some hope of a life. Maybe it can trade off a useful piece on d5. Okay, knight at g6. So let's be wary here. Yeah, I'm going to block this pin just to cut the activity there, but then that also blocks my own bishop, unfortunately. Having said that, they're the likely places white might attack, so it's keeping him out of there a little bit. So I'm expecting him to discover. We'll just patch up. So yeah, don't mind having a little bit more defense on the light squares right now. I mean, if this bishop wasn't here, it wouldn't be covering e6, and then white might be able to sack and come in with, distract this pawn, come in with pawn at g6. So yeah, but by no means does black have an aggressive position here. So I'm safe, but not attacking, and I only got knights in hand. So I'm looking at knight at f6, consolidating. Knight at f4 is bringing some aggression to the game. This bishop is also hitting that pawn. I still want to be mindful of material, because in positions where you don't have a direct game on your opponent's king, I mean, every piece ends up counting eventually. So, sometimes players can forget to be a little bit mindful of the material just because it's crazy house. It flows that way, but it is still good to keep an eye on things. I'm here basically saying the value of my rook is less than your bishop, so I don't mind if you take it, and I'm defending the b6 pawn that way with that piece. So yeah, let's capture that. Place the knight here to kick the queen back before we can start an attack going. And we'll start looking at some inroads on his king. Okay, let's start getting into it. So I'm going to push this bishop well back before I play g4, just to ensure nothing occurs on my king side. So yeah, pretty basic here. Rook at h1 is just very hard to stop. And I'm going to cut off this escape square. Okay, E Dog Bomb says, Jan, looks like you and Master Tan both from Australia. Do you know each other? Master Tan lives in Melbourne and I live in Sydney. We've known each other online for a very long time, but have never actually met in person. But yeah, online we're good buddies, to the point where we'll discuss a few things here and there. He might talk about what was on in my stream, or we've done a few coordinated streams where I've done a stream and he's volunteered to play as an opponent. So yeah, we're on good terms, but haven't really met in person. Okay, so I've got a piece for a pawn here, and I'm trying to figure out how I should continue. I think what's key is knocking this back, because that allows support of pawn at h3. I don't have a way of blowing black up at the moment. So yeah, I'm happy to take this, and I'll start working on the black squares. So let's be ambitious. I'm going to get a weakness on his king. Nothing concrete there. Just making room for my knight and potentially trying to undermine the g4 square. Which I might do with the bishop, because I think it'll be more useful to have a knight remaining on g4 and hitting f6 and h6. So he's not accepted that. So I'm actually just going to keep piling the pressure on dark squares here. I'll leave this hanging. So I'll get some movement in here. I'm looking at something like pawn at e4 potentially. There's no need to rush into it. So he can't take d4 just yet. My king's still very safe, so a trade of queens should favour white. So if I have a queen in hand, then knight h6 becomes a threat. He can't capture it because of queen at g7. So very difficult for black to defend from here. Can't take with the knight because of knight h6. And otherwise, we'll just keep moving on g7 until we get in. Okay, 23 minutes to go. I've still got a decent lead. So Sketchy Quark, who would win in chess boxing? You or one of your kangaroos? I don't know. I've heard of chess boxing, and I've seen it. I think only once or twice online. I think it's it's a fascinating concept. You know, if I was as fit as the name of my video character, JannLee, maybe I'd be pretty decent at chess boxing. But yeah, I don't think I'd be very good at the boxing side of things. Okay. So I'm in a bit of unfamiliar territory already. In the sense that I don't know this exact position. I mean, it's a pretty standard e4, e5 position. Just looking to develop. Now white's got to be wary of bishop f3 because there's things like knight at c2 or knight at g2 depending which way he captures. Now I have to be careful of things like here, so I'm actually going to ignore that for a moment. He's covered c2, but now I've got a queen to hit. Knight at h4 seems right. I don't see anything decisive just yet. We'll threaten to come in here. And the idea is that you can capture on e3 and play knight takes g2 later. So in fact, maybe instead of bishop at f4, knight g4 was more accurate. Yeah, we'll just cover this one off. Yeah, I'd like to get rid of this battery on my position at the moment. That's what I'm thinking. It's going to give more coverage to the e6 pawn. Okay, and now we'll go knight a5. Trade off a bishop. Maybe I should have taken b3 to threaten a rook, because he doesn't actually have to recapture my knight. Yeah, I'm going to maybe do something on the dark squares. Yeah, should have taken b3, I think. It's just a slight inaccuracy, which has allowed him to grab my knight over here. Okay, so I've got things to play for. Light squares, dark squares. Just got to find the right balance of getting in. So at some point I want to do some trades. Be careful here. Capture this. Get rid of the knight. So if the king goes back here, we've got knight at f2. He's gone back there. I'm kind of short of a pawn here. And if I don't attack quickly, I'm going to be in trouble. I don't actually like my position all of a sudden. So alright, let's be aggressive. If we try to trade off a queen, then I'm concerned it's not going to be enough. I need to put... I think I might have blown this, guys. I think there's too much with knight at e7. Yeah, he's got me. Yeah, well played. That's good play from the opponent. I think I just missed that King G1 actually was quite safe for white. Somewhere in my mind I had, if he plays King H1, I've got the knight fork, and he plays King G1, the rook can do something. But not to be. Okay, so lost my multiplier again. Okay, question from the channel. Sketch and Quack. I like this. That's why I do it every week. Give me a second, I'll read the comment section. So Sketchy Quack says, so would you say there's a correlation between Vegemite consumption and Crazyhouse rating? Maybe there is, but I'm not an example of it. I'm not actually a big consumer of Vegemite, despite being in Australia. I don't mind it, but yeah, it's not the number one choice on my bread, so to speak. Afraid 16 asks, is there a player you fear? No, not. I mean, yeah, this topic's funny. I mean, fear has been something that's been used as a term on Fix and the Bughouse channel quite a lot, where players won't play it, say, oh, you fear me, this and that. I'm just here to play a game. Like, I'm not too concerned if I lose as well. So yeah, if you're not afraid of losing, you're probably not afraid of anyone. I'm just not that precious about the outcome. And E-Dog Bomb, when you close your eyes to visualize the board, what color are the squares? Usually black and white. That's my answer to that one. When I open them here, though, they're brown and white. Any more questions from the channel? Let's keep it lively. This is good. Although, maybe I should shut up and play here a bit. I've only got 36 seconds left. I haven't really talked to the position much. So I'm just trying to hold on to this guy. If I can keep my knight secure here and untouchable, then it's going to be hard for him to remove this. and then we can start working on light squares. So you always need a balance of light and dark. Well, not always, but that's when you get your opponent into trouble. So now that's very strong. Rather than capture it, I'm just going to pile the pressure on again. So rook's defending the h7 square. I'd like to place my queen. And M. Michael said, I've heard Indian Reaper never fears. Yeah, I mean that's something that's been thrown around fix. But there's a lot of players that don't fear anyone. I think it's just a bit of banter in the channel, honestly. So Frayed 16, do you adjust your play depending on your opponent, or do you play every game like Kaisa is? I don't know who Kaisa is. Caissa. No, I adjust to my opponent actually. Alright, I've got a Sicilian here, ready to lose my feet. So this is a player I played earlier who I thought might be a chess player. I'm still going to go and hit for c7 normally. No, there's a saying in no limit Texas Hold'em poker that you play the man and not the cards. And you know, Crazyhouse chess isn't like that, because just like chess, it's a game of perfect information, whereas a game like poker is a game of imperfect information, where you can't logically see everything and you've got probability in there. But no, I find different players have a different style of play, and I tend to adjust my play quite practically according to where I see weaknesses. So here's our knight f3. Now I need to decide if knight at c7 is a better option, or just capturing the knight. I'll be honest here, I've been just yapping away and I didn't even see knight at f3, which is quite poor. So yeah, I opted not to play knight at c7 because I didn't see the continuation after king d7. Pawn at e6 wasn't working because his black knight was defending it. Okay, it's found a good move here. Alright, I need to play sharp to get out of this one. I'm gonna capture this one first, actually. If he takes the rook, I've got bishop at g2. I'm gonna play knight at d3, cover off this. So I'm a little bit on the back foot here. I'm expecting pawn at f3. Oh, okay. If I take, he's got pawn at f3. That's uncomfortable. I'm gonna have to avoid it. I'm just down material with no compensation here. Black is simply better. So I'm gonna get out of this. It's not gonna be off my own racket, to use a tennis term. It's gonna rely on some mistakes. So the best I can do is try to keep a solid position. I'm honestly not succeeding at that at the moment. I kicked the queen there just so f2 wouldn't crumble. the rest of my positioning is crumbling anyway. So if this is indeed a strong chess player, I expect him to be capable enough to keep chewing the pieces down. My only hope is something like pawn at e6, really. Ooh, what's this? I'm gonna take that. I don't know if he thought he had something here or just an unusual move. Knight at c3 dangerous enough. Alright, my king can run here. He's kind of giving me something to play for by giving up that queen. I'm a bit puzzled by it. Now I'm running this way. Oh, knight at c3 is dangerous now. Yeah, I feel like my opponent is a strong chess player that maybe hasn't played as much Crazyhouse, because the way he's trying to finish me is a little bit unusual. So yeah, time's going to become a factor here, so I need to put some pressure on the clock as well. Knight d4 is a good move through this pawn e2. So I think pawn e2 is just too dangerous now. Which way to run? I'm going to run up. Well, he's not played a check. I'm going to try to make use of that opportunity. Trying to defend here. Alright, running short on time. Oh, I made it now. Ugh. Oh, that was... Yeah, he should have won that. I mean, pretty dirty flag there. But, yeah, I don't know why he gave up the queen on d4. I think he was just winning material and he could have backed off and had a fairly comfortable win. Okay. We got 6 minutes to go. So I'll try to read some more comments. So, Sketchy Clark. How constantly are you aware of what pieces your opponent has in hand? Do you refresh it frequently, or do you pretty much continuously keep track of it? It's certainly a new parameter. No, I've played the game long enough to kind of nearly, well, in calculations, know what's going to be in hand for my opponent or for myself as I calculate. I think it's just something you get used to. You keep track of. You just keep track of the pieces that are captured, and then you know what you have in hand. Yeah, it probably just comes from a lot of play. Okay, here I feel like I can pick off a piece because his pawn's trying to defend. I'm going to take the bishop first. I know it allows the pawn to capture this knight. But, I'm still picking up a pawn there, so I'm happy with that. Just going to cover f6 again. Sketchy Pluck says you were doing better when we weren't asking questions. Maybe that's true. Alright, Pure Essence is making a run of it. It's got 89. I'm gonna see if I can still try to secure a win here if I can. So here I'm looking at the light squares, trying to make something happen there. So we'll attack this knight first. So I'm having to play e4 because I don't actually have a knight square available yet that can hit the queen. So I want to make e5 available. Now if I back off here, he plays pawn at h6, and they'll actually become one tempo behind the attack. So I'm going to opt to sacrifice the queen here. And that's quite a critical move, because now I've got queen at g2 and knight at e2, but he doesn't have anything on the king. If I played king h8, pawn at h6, suddenly if I take his queen, he's got mate on me with the pawn capturing here, and he just puts the diagonal pieces on. So queen takes e7 there's actually a critical move. Alright, pure essence lost the match, and yeah, we've got less than 3 minutes to go, so I think I've got a secure first position. So very happy to finally win one of these weekly tournaments for the fans. Okay, I'll see if I get one more pairing or not. Okay, Papasi, I'll berserk this last game. I've not played this opponent before. But yeah, okay, just after this, I believe the 32nd event will be starting. I won't be playing today. I've got some things to get done. In fact, it's my wife's birthday in just a couple of days. I'm trying to give her a surprise birthday party today, so we've got to get a few things sorted for that. She's not a subscriber to my channel, so it's all good. She won't know about it by me saying it to all of you. Okay, so here I'm looking at dark squares. So again, you got this type of position where you can't really blow up your opponent. But yeah, I'm looking at undermining some of the dark squares. Oh, I've got a trick here. I can pick off another pawn. I've got a queen h4 fork. And so I basically got 3 pawns for the piece here. Still a very safe king. And so I'm going to let loose. Really go for it. Okay. So white's in serious trouble here. Things on g1, things on h2. That's too much. I'll get to pocket just a few more points before the tournament concludes. Alright, so I've been releasing a new set of matches which we've called Combo Cage. There's also been one called Mental Martial Arts. Combo Cage is basically just some 3-0 matches against an opponent. Mental Martial Arts is just a series of 1-0 or faster against opponents. There we go. Happy to get the win. Have a look at it. And you'll see Chicken Crossroad, he came second, but his performance rating was not too different to mine. I just probably got to play a few more matches, so that's the difference. Yeah, no, I was saying, yeah, you can check out my other streams or videos. The Combo Cage series is designed to be a series against other strong players, and I offer commentary in a 3-0. Next week, I'm looking at having a match against Suanet, X-U-A-N-E-T. We're not sure exactly which day it will happen, but look out for it. It normally happens about 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m. Sydney time. To give you an idea from when that is relative to now, it's 8.5 to 9 hours earlier than the time right now. So if you want to check out the stream live, you can do it that way. Otherwise, you can check out the recording on my channel. So yeah, look, thanks again to everyone who's showed up today. It's been a decent showing. We've got about 60 players watching. So hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you took something away from it. Good luck in your games for the next week, and bye for now.